Good morning, class. How are my favorite sunshine's doing? A golden spear? What's going on in here? Young man, stop flailing around with those swords. You could hurt somebody. Oh, you've done it now. Look at all that confetti. Rainbows! Stop those rainbows! What? We talked about those darts plenty of times. And you left all those toy soldiers lying about. Letty, don't! You can't! Oh dear! Stop that! Enough! Welcome to the playground.
Warriors, welcome to the April 1st Warriors Den. My name is Matt, community manager on For Honor. I'm here with Josh, the community representative on For Honor. How are you doing today?
Hi, Matt. How you doing, buddy? I'm good. I'm jazzed.
I am also jazzed. It's April 1st. There's a testing grounds. There's a lot in this show today, you guys. But before we get to all that, there's a little button on people's screens that they might be interested in. So, Josh, can you tell us about this button?
Let me tell you about this freaking button, man. All right, so this button is called Azarus, right? This button is called Azarus. It is a Twitch extension that we use to run like raffles and quizzes and all that fun stuff. You look very intrigued, so I'm going to tell you more.
Yeah.
So what happens is throughout the show, we'll run some quizzes, and if you get them right, you win a little something called Ubies, which you can use to redeem rewards at forhonorgame.com/redeem. If you lose, you get nothing.
That's how it works.
All. Also, bots cannot win. Bots are irrelevant here. We don't like bots. All my homies hate bots. Isn't that right, Matt? You're a homie.
All my homies hate bots.
Exactly.
They don't respect them.
So get the crap out of here, bot boy.
Whoa.
Anyway, the winners' names are protected because we don't want people hacking those who might end up getting some cool stuff. And
the
also,
names are censored, you guys. They're not bots.
And you get to see like how many winners there are, so you know that we're not trolling you. This is April Fools, but we are not playing with these rewards, fam. And speaking of rewards, let's who wants some stuff? Let's talk about the stuff you guys are going to get today. All right, 5,000 winners will get one scavenger crate, and 50 winners will be breaded up like a chicken tender in For Honor and win 20k steel. That's awesome. Can I enter? Because I want that steel. No?
I sometimes do them as the For Honor account, which I don't believe has won anything yet. But I just do the Azarus questions while I'm like modding.
I did not know you did that. What the heck?
Yeah, you never know unless you try, right? But aside from Azarus, we also have game plan content that's been coming out lately. So if you go to forhonorgame.com/gameplan, you're going to see a bunch of videos, including 28 videos that Freeze worked on, who hopefully is in Twitch chat, which are just overviews of all the heroes. The Filthy Spaniard helped us with the video. There's a lot of great introductory and explanatory content on this site, so by all means, check it out. And we also want to mention Bug Reporter.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the For Honor Bug Reporter. If you head on over to forhonor.ubisoft.com/bug reporter, you will see this screen, and you will see a bunch of bugs that the players have submitted. And if you happen to come across any bug on this website that you've encountered yourself, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Get some, let us know that this is also something that you are experiencing. If you've looked on the website and you see a bug that you haven't, if you have experienced a bug that's not on the website, go ahead and submit a report for that. So we're up to date on what's going on. A lot of the bugs that have been on this website we've fixed. So a big thank you and a big shout out to those who have submitted those bugs, who contributed to those reports, and we were able to get them fixed. So yeah, go ahead and check out the website. We're really excited to fix more bugs. So keep us in the loop. Like let's do this. Let's fix some bugs.
Yeah, it really makes a difference in the game. So thank you to everyone who does that. And now we have some huge news, something that people have been messaging me about, asking about for a while. The Dominion series is back for year 5. So this is hype. This is hype as hell. It's a 5-event circuit with 3 majors, 1 last chance qualifier, and 1 final. It's all double elimination. And like last year, it's 2 regions, NA and EU, and PC only. So please register and try to take down. I have nothing against these teams, but take down Chimmies and Nemesis. Now is your opportunity to do that. We have a total prize pool of $65,000. Registration is not open until April 16th, so we're going to have more details for you in the near future on Dominion series. But this is super exciting. And while that's coming later, right now we have an April Fool's event today.
Yes, we do indeed. Yes, there is a For Honor April Fool's event called, it's the Playground Edition. It's going live right now. You could play it right now, but don't, because we're still to talk about testing grounds.
Right.
But here we can see some doodles that the kids devs did, and we were able to implement them into the game.
The devs kids, I think.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said the kids devs, which sort of works, but it's the devs kids, right?
Yeah, it's the devs kids.
Yeah.
And you also have the minions here looking like toy soldier men. The things around the map aren't deadly. These are actually Nerf bullets. Look at that. He's okay.
No one's getting hurt. Everyone's fine.
Yeah, it's awesome. And also the blood is mixed with confetti, so while not totally dark, it's still like, it's kind of playful, it's kind of fun. Also, the weapons are made out of foam. Must be some really sharp foam, considering that person is now headless. But yeah, no, it's really cool. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, there's actually some baby proofing we've done around the map. Also cool little effects here, like Rippon's has a bell pepper sticking out of his mouth. That's not a tongue. I refuse to believe that. But yeah, there's some really cool things that are gonna be around the map, as in, like I said, baby proofing. And I don't want to spoil it too much, because I mean, part of the journey is just kind of exploring and stuff. So definitely check it out. It's gonna be awesome. And yeah.
That's amazing. I look forward to playing that event if I get a chance on April 1st. We also have more stuff coming in April. It's not just about April 1st and pranks and tricks. April 1st to April 8th, we have the testing grounds, and we have a mega thread going up on Reddit at some point, and we have surveys for you guys to do. So please complete those. They help us out a lot in gathering all the feedback that you guys have. And right after the testing grounds, actually, we have an extra XP Fest from the 8th to the 15th. And something is going on April 22nd. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it might have been teased a little bit in the launch trailer. Who can say? We also have a bit of content of the week to get to this week.
Yes, we do indeed. We have a couple of things we want to go ahead and show you, like the Hypnotic Extravagance battle outfit. This is available for all heroes. It is available right now. These cool little purple accents. They look super colorful and extravagant, dare I say. Also, the Hypnotic Eye the effect is here. It is available until April 8th. So many people have asked about this, right, Matt?
In high demand, I would say, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, the content of the week looks really sweet.
That's amazing. I look forward to seeing people equipping that. So it's a big April, and we have a lot to get to still. With the testing grounds, the fight team is going to come on and go through 7 heroes with us, including Aramusha, who many of you have sent feedback about. So I'm really excited to see what you guys think. Again, there's a Reddit mega thread and the surveys to do. But we'll be right back with Stefan and JC to go through all 7 of the heroes in the testing grounds. See you soon. Welcome back, Warriors. We're here with the fight team to discuss the testing grounds. This is going to be the main part of the show where we get into the nitty gritty, which is pretty exciting. So thank you for coming, Steph and JC. How are you guys doing?
You good yourself?
Great, thank you. And you?
We're pretty hype. 7 heroes is a lot of heroes, and we're definitely excited for that. So can you remind the good people of Twitch chat what the Testing Grounds is all about?
Absolutely. Testing Grounds is basically an event front that you'll see on the Faction War multiplayer map menu. And it's a place that you can go with your existing heroes, play some games. You will get progression as normal you would in any other game mode. You'll get gear and XP and so on afterwards. So that's really great. But it's also a place where inside that event front, you will play some varied balance changes on heroes that we would like to eventually do live. But then the purpose, of course, as you've seen from previous Testing Grounds, is we test it, we see what your player feedback is, does it hit our goals, yes, no, and then maybe there'll be either go live, edits, or it might return for another round, as determined by you, basically.
Awesome. And for this Testing Grounds, we have a couple of main objectives that we're really trying to look at. JC, can you talk a little bit about what we're seeing here?
Yeah, so basically the idea is that we're trying to improve the competitive viability for pretty much all levels of play, including high level and like not especially, but like also tournaments, right? So we've had the Dominion series previously. We've seen a lot of things coming out of that, and we'd like to see a lot more hero variety in there. So that's part of why we're pushing for these changes.
But we're definitely not 100%, right? Like we don't only look at that. Yeah.
No, of course not. Yeah, we look at a bunch of different things, across all skill levels. So that's pretty good. And we're also looking to reduce our frustration with a bunch of stuff. Sometimes some moves are like really frustrating for a bunch of players. So we're trying to adjust things so that it feels, so that they're still good, but they also feel a lot more fair.
Awesome. So we have 7 heroes to talk about today. So let's just like quickly intake all of this information in this wonderful family photo. And let's move right on to Shugoki and the changes he's got coming in this Testing Grounds. So, Stefan, can you quickly take us through the general goal with Shugoki in these Testing Grounds?
Yeah, absolutely. Shugoki was in our previous Testing Ground as well. There were a lot of good things on the character that gave feedback from the players. They really appreciated the light attack no longer having uninterruptible stance. So hats off to that one, they said.
Jeez.
As well as ability to have reasonable dodge attack moves. These were pretty cool. On the negative side, they didn't really like how Shugoki still was unable to rotate around the map and switch from objective to objective. And then Demon's Embrace had a lot of questions as to okay, if it's changed in the way we had it changed, what really is Shugoki's role? And this is the kind of stuff we're trying to address in this Testing Ground.
All right, JC, let's get into the nitty gritty about Shugoki. What can you tell us about some of the more specific things that you'll be changing with this hero?
All right, so we're going to start off with Demon's Embrace, right? So Demon's Embrace, we really want to position it to be a ganking move. In the previous Testing Grounds, it was still kind of more used to try to be like mix-up stuff. So we've really moved it around so that now you can only access it doing down and guard break from neutral. So there's no more soft feints, no more of that stuff. The total attack duration is now 900 milliseconds, so it's a little bit faster. To note, it's 100 ms faster than Lawbringer's long arm, so that actually it's a little bit faster, should be a little more potent. It heals you for 20 and deals 10 damage, so that's a little bit lower than it was before. Slightly different health swing, but it's going to be a little bit healthier. It also fully restores your opponent's stamina when they get up. So that's another thing that we're trying to put in that makes a bit more sense. And it still has no uninterruptible stance. So the idea is you want to use Demon's Embrace really to set up ganks, gank people, make sure that it's guaranteed in a lot of situations, and get it in there, but not really use it as a mix-up. You can still try to throw it out, but it probably won't work as well as a mix-up as it used to. So next up, we have Charge of the Oni. That's a brand new addition to this Testing Ground. The biggest issue we had, well, one of the biggest issues we had with Shugoki on top of what we did last time, was the fact that he still had a lot of difficulty, like Steph was saying, like rotating, like going around points and trying to like grab stuff. And so
Takes him a little bit longer than others.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's
Yeah.
a bit slower. So what we've done is we've actually changed the functionality of Charge the Oni. So it used to be that while you were sprinting, you would hit the dodge button and you would start to run and bump people. You can bump people off of like little bridges and stuff. That was actually kind of really frustrating, and it didn't really help him rotate. So what we've done instead is we've changed Charge the Oni into something that's really similar to Shinobi's Super Sprint. So basically, while you're sprinting, you hit the sprint button again, and he starts to run much faster. That really will help him rotate between points. It's not as limited as it used to be. You can turn a little bit more while you're doing it, so it works. It should work much better at letting you roam the map and be able to go between points A and C and do a bit better there.
If you're one of those people on High Fort, you're going to be sad, but
Yeah.
I think everyone else will be much happier. So,
Pretty much, right?
and if you want to get across the map, like, it's going to be hugely, I think, beneficial to be like, well, I'm not stuck at C forever. I can actually move
Exactly.
to B.
Like you're not playing like like this is my swamp type of thing.
I
So
appreciate the
okay.
reference.
Yeah, right. So next up we have dodge attacks. So we want to make sure that we give him initiation in 1v1 and a way to counter bashes and also be able to catch rolls. With Demon's Embrace being on neutral, you could potentially see people going, oh crap, and just constantly rolling away. So we want to give you something like a way to be able to catch people. So first up, brand new, we have front dodge headbutt. That was one of the things that was really requested by players. So he now has that as a tool to initiate from neutral. So that in combination with his charge heavies really gives him a lot of potency in 1v1. He still has his side dodge headbutts as he had before. He still has the forward dodge heavy that we had before in the previous testing grounds. And on top of that, the forward dodge heavy also has armor timings that match the same as sprint. So having a little bit of uninterruptible stance really helps him out as well, catching people and making sure he's not overly interrupted with that stuff. And after that, on top of those little changes for front dodge headbutt and stuff, we also have changes to headbutt itself. So the idea is that we want it to be able to pressure opponents and actually give him free damage on dodge attacks. We didn't really want to have like headbutts grant a free light because he doesn't really have like finishers or anything, so it's a bit more complicated. So the idea is that like headbutt now actually deals damage, but it no longer stuns or deals stamina damage, and it doesn't pause stamina regen. So the idea is that you use it a lot more offensively, so it works much better. It deals a little bit of damage. It's not overly crazy, but it still helps him get some damage in. It still leads to his heavy finisher, so that kind of works well. And on top of that, the front dodge version is 500 milliseconds, and the chain version is 500 milliseconds as well. So it now acts as an actual mix-up in chains, rather than what it was before, where you could easily react to it. And on side dodge is 533, like our other side dodge, like faster side dodge attacks. So that should work quite well. And last but not least, we still have returning light attacks that are no longer have uninterruptible stance, or armored as we commonly call it. That really helped reduce frustration. That was a really positive point we had in the last testing rounds. So we kept that in to help Shugoki feel a lot less frustrating to play against. Like people could just like mash light and basically just power through everything. So that makes a lot of sense. So that's about it for Shugoki this time. Steph, what do you expect is going to end up happening with Shugoki this time?
I think it's going to be a very interesting character. I think you're actually going to be able to go, well, I'm not just stuck at one point. I'm going to be rotating back and forth, kind of like a normal hero in that way. I think you're still going to be setting up ganks where your friends will have to help you get your Demon's Embrace, and then, pile on hits after the hug timing. You're still going to be throwing those crazy side heavies in group fights and so on. But I think you're going to have a lot more agency with headbutt to kind of fight down people. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this changes Shugoki's kind of game plan, especially in Dominion type matches.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Demon's Embrace can actually be set up for ganks a lot more easily now, because you don't have to hit that heavy beforehand. You don't spend all that extra stamina. So that should be pretty good.
That's really awesome, you guys. In case this is starting to feel like Shugoki's den a little bit, I think it's time to move on to a very angry Viking, particularly Berserker, and talk a little bit about the changes that he's going to get, or she.
right, let's talk about some angry Vikings. When you compare the list of changes compared to Shugoki, probably not like a super long list, but there's some really good stuff in here. So, Stefan, why don't you tell us about like the general goal for these changes to Berserker?
Totally. I mean, as you say, Berserker is one of those heroes that's probably the closest to being where we would like in this group, while being just a little step below, say, like, if you want to pick Berserker, maybe you're better off picking Shaman or Nusha right now. But Berserker's not too far away. So really what we're trying to do with Berserker in particular is nudge them into that point where you're like, oh yeah, I would pick Berserker equally or over Nusha Shaman, for example.
And JC, can you walk us through some of the specifics that we're trying to accomplish here with Berserker?
Yeah. All right. So we'll start with top light opener. So the idea is that, like, normally on live right now, like, his top light is actually weaker than the sides. It's 600 ms and 5 after feints. So what we've done is we've just normalized it so it has the same speed as the side one. So it's 500 normal, 400 after feints. Same armor timing as before. Damage has been adjusted to match the exact same speed. So damage on top and on sides is exactly the same. After that, we have dodge attacks. So dodge attacks for Berserker are a little bit interesting. Side dodge lights are actually really useful in group fights, but the problem is that they're very, very good in that they don't get interrupted on external opponents. There's a lot of those little tweaks there that are there. So we wanted to give him not only have that as a property in general, so that they're enhanced, they don't get interrupted, but also give that to his forward dodge light as well, so he gets a little bit better initiation, a little bit better chase. He's able to get into his opponents a little bit easier. So on top of that, so dodge forward light is not interrupted, and it has a little bit of extra forward movement, so it'll catch people a little bit better. Side dodge lights, as I said, are not interrupted, so it gives you a lot of leeway in group fights, and it also helps with characters like Black Prior, right? When he does his dodge forward bash, and if your attack is enhanced, even if it ends up being blocked because you dodge a little bit too late, you can still at least continue your offense and keep going to things. Last but not least, on his dodge attacks, his forward dodge heavy also has like a bit of extra movement, so you can start it from further away to catch people that are running away, rolling away from you, that sort of stuff, to give him better chase. And last but not least, his sprint attack. So same as with the forward dodge heavy, we want to make sure that that Berserker rather is able to really easily catch opponents that are running away. So it basically just has extra forward movement. Again, it reaches much further than it did. It's a bit closer to what the Orochi has currently. So that's typically very good. It gets really difficult to run away from a Berserker in a fight. So when you get into a fight with a Berserker in a 1v1 fight, he's able to keep you locked down, and if we try to run away, he still can catch you and make sure you don't run away from him, so you have to face him head on. So, Steph, what do we expect is going to end up going on with Berserker this time?
I think very much the same as before for Berserker. You're going to be playing it roughly in the same way, but you're going to have a lot more opportunity, as you say, to run down your 1v1 opponent who's trying to leave, or in group fights, you see something happening and stuff you wouldn't be able to deal with as Berserker to stop them or last hit and kill them. But say Shaman or Nusha might be able to. Now Berserker probably is going to be able to as well. So keep an eye on the edges of the fight, because between your armor and the range that you're going to get now, I think you're going to be happy.
Awesome. That's good to hear that Berserker might have a chance to kind of break into that competitive role of like the gank initiator. And up next is someone who's already been in the testing grounds once, so this is interesting. Gladiator. So Stefan, with this famous and wonderful Roman, what are we trying to accomplish in this testing grounds?
Kind of Gladiator is in a similar deal as Berserker, where like the kind of 1v1 stuff that is, good-ish, and the ganking stuff that is good-ish, often ends up behind, say, Nusha or Shaman, and with Berserker going up a little bit, it's a good opportunity for Gladiator to take the same kind of like, this is time for a tune-up. Flow into certain gank moves would be a lot better for Gladiator, I think. JC will get into the specifics in a moment, but a little more access to some of the moves that you want to be doing as Gladiator will make Gladiator, I think, a much more viable role competing against those other assassins.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about specifics. JC, I'm seeing some toe stabby stuff here. So what can you tell us about the changes that players are going to get on the testing grounds?
Yeah, so the first big change that we're talking about right now is this chain flow, right? So one of the problems that Gladiator has is that he has a hard time going into skewer from many different things. He absolutely has to throw out a heavy or go into a light and do a bunch of different things. So what we've done is that we've made that his zone attack, his toe stab, or Fushina Ictus there, but let's call it toe stab, it's a little bit easier, and his sucker punches, which is basically his dodge bashes. They now chain to heavy finishers and skewer. We should have a video up for this, so you can see. So toe stab goes straight into skewer if you want. Same with zone attack, and same with the sucker punches, right? So the idea is that this should help you land skewer a lot more. It should help you set up ganks with your allies, and really help in that regard. Next up, we have his dodge attacks. So we want to give him a little bit better defense in 1v1. And make sucker punches actually work. The problem that we have right now with sucker punch is that it has really little range, and it doesn't chain to really good things. So as we said, sucker punches actually now have, since they can now chain to skewer, we made sure they had a little bit of extra range. So when you throw them, you can actually hit opponents a little bit easier. And they also have iframes. If you're not sure what that means, it means that you're invulnerable while you're dodging and doing at the startup of these attacks to make sure you dodge things. So they're a lot more viable. His side dodge lights also have iframes now. They did not used to, so you can use them a lot more effectively to side dodge and attack your opponents. And forward dodge light also has extra range on top of that to help you catch opponents and initiate a little bit better. So overall, this dodge attack should help him compete a lot better. He can do his sucker punches into skewer really easily. They still stun, they still do that stuff. So it's a more interesting mix-up. You can use them against again, I use that often, but Black Pearl's for dodge bash, because they recover so quickly. Having access to a side dodge bash that can go into mix-ups is actually pretty strong. Next, we have toe stab specifically. So on top of the other changes that we've mentioned about toe stab having a better chain flow, it also now deals 10 damage baseline up from 5 that it used to. So it deals a little bit more damage. That's always good. And it also no longer prevents executions on bound opponents. So normally, right now on live, if you do toe stab on somebody, and then one of your allies throws out a top heavy, for example, that's guaranteed. If that top heavy would kill, your ally could not execute your opponent. So they now can. So that also helps in delaying opponents, doing a little bit more efficient ganking, that sort of stuff. And then last but not least, skewer. So as you've seen from the other changes, we want to make skewer to be his go-to ganking tool, right? It's super strong, it binds for a long time, it guarantees ally heavies, it does a bunch of things. So by giving you easier access to skewer, we also want to make it a little bit better. So it also now just costs 12 stamina. So on top of having a little bit better stamina management, Gladiator has a bit more stam. He can throw out a lot more skewers, go into it a lot more. But the downside to that is that it dealt a little bit too much damage, especially because it had a guaranteed for dodge light at the end of skewer. So we've taken that out. So at least it's a bit more balanced now. You should be able to land them a lot more often, but you get a bit less damage off of them. So that's pretty much it for Gladiator. Stefan, what do you think? Where do you think Gladiator is going to end up being with this?
I think everyone who liked playing Gladiator for the 1v1 viability is still going to be happy. I think they're going to be even happier because a lot of times actually they can flow a little bit more and try to set up stuff like skewer. And then in group fights, I mean, your dodge attacks are going to be much more effective than they were, both for dodging incoming attacks and then ability to follow up afterwards. And I mean, if I'm a friend of a Gladiator, I'm going to be very happy because I feel like I'm going to be getting free heavies and now in this case even free executes more often than I would be. So I think the most viable Gladiator ever was in the super good toe stab days.
Yep.
And I would expect that kind of playstyle is going to be there, but in a much more healthy and interesting way, I think.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Now let's shift over to spooky Hitokiri. I called her spooky because like that mask is terrifying. Anyway, Stefan, what can you tell us about the goal of the changes to Hitokiri on the testing grounds?
Yes, absolutely. Hitokiri is terrifying for us as well because no matter what we do, everyone complains. So history-wise, we've done a number of nerfs to this character to a lot of times to reduce frustration, basically, and a lot of those had to do with the armor.
Armor.
Yeah, there we go. So what we're trying to do is respect a lot of the changes and concessions that we made to try to keep frustration low, and at the same time return viability to this character in some other avenues, basically.
Awesome. So, JC, how exactly are we going to do this with Hitokiri?
Yeah, so Hitokiri is an interesting case. As Steph said, like we've had a lot of nerfs and changes to Hito to make sure that she wasn't overly frustrating, but at the same time, I think she lost a bit of her identity. So we're doing a couple of changes. First of all, we're adjusting her chain flow a little bit. Basically, the idea is that it's a lot easier to access her chains and her mix-ups. So now, dodge forward heavy, zone attack, as well as sprint attack, all initiate chains. So you can always go into your kick, into your infinite heavy chain, do whatever you want from any of her starters. That makes her a lot more potent, makes it accessing her like pretty strong offense rather easily. So that should really, really help her flow much better and be able to initiate a lot easier. Next up, we have Ray Kick and Sweep. So Kick has a bit of a problem where it can be backstepped light or heavy by a bunch of different characters depending on a lot of different situations. So we've given it a little bit of extra range so that it no longer can be backstepped. So you have to take the mix-up similarly to what we have with Centurion and with Warden. That charge mix-up should actually work right now. You don't have a universal out depending on your character. And the second thing we did to that, which is a little bit crazier but still interesting, Sweep now also guarantees a chain heavy, right? So before, Ray Sweep used to guarantee you a neutral light that you can go back into your chain. It was a little bit like it worked, but it was a little bit weird. The risk-reward ratio on using Sweep versus using Kick was a little bit skewed. So now, no matter which one you end up using, you still get a heavy every single time, and you can go back into your mix-up. So she truly is, she repeats and just mows you down until you're dead, basically. So that works quite well. Another change we've done is to her chain heavies. So for chain heavies, the interesting thing with having infinite chain heavies is that normally they should be pretty good in group fights. Unfortunately, due to like a bunch of different things, they were not that great. So what we've done is that we've given it uninterruptible stance when you release the button. So right, so when you play Hitokiri, you press heavy, and then like Hitokiri charges for a little bit of time, and you can release, and you have variable timing. But whenever like she actually starts her attack, she gains armor, so you can use it a lot more in group fights. On top of that, her attack trajectories are flatter and bigger, so she hits more people around her, and it also has a bit of extra forward movement. So on top of this, you can actually like swap target heavies between different opponents and go and flow quite well in a group fight. It's also really useful when you're laning. That extra range and the better trajectories really, really help when you're in the lane. So that should really, really help her perform much better in that area. And then the last little thing we've given her is she now has side dodge attacks, right? So in the spirit of what we've been doing with Shugoki, characters that were traditionally weak against bashes shouldn't really be weak against bashes. Basically, the idea is that if you don't have a bash, if you don't have a way to deal with bashes, you're immediately weak. So Hitokiri now has side dodge heavies. They are 600 milliseconds, so they're not the faster ones. Same speed as Horochi and that sort of stuff. And they also hit on the opposite side of the dodge for animation issues. We managed to reuse some old animations we had shot way back in the day. So that's pretty good. We were able to dig those out of the vault. And those side dodge heavies also initiate chains like or other initiators. So it really, really helps her out. Like when you're playing against like people that use a lot of bashes, you can actually now have an option against them. You can dodge, do your heavy, go into your chain, and punish them for trying to be overly offensive against you. So that's the gist of the changes to Hito. Stefan, where do you think Hito's gonna end up?
It's going to be an interesting case, as it always is with Hito. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, one of the things I like is when it comes to like dodge forward heavy, zone attack, sprint, and now these side dodge attacks. As a Hitokiri, I feel, yeah, that's what I want to do, is do my attack and then begin my chain offense. That seems totally natural. That's what I want to do. I don't want to wait through recoveries to get to that point. And from an opponent's perspective, I feel that it's probably going to seem honest and respectable attacks. Like these are mostly 600 MS, heavy, like side dodge attack, for example. That's parryable, that's dodgeable, that's whatever you want, it's normal. So I think from that side it's going to be cool. And I would expect Hitokiri is going to have more viability in those group fights between the dodge attack and what you're saying with the chained heavy timings. So I'm looking forward to that as a Hitokiri player.
As someone who's been killed by a lot of Hitokiris, I'm excited to find out if I'll be frustrated by these changes, but that's why we have the testing grounds. And next up, we have the fiery man, Zhanhu, who's near and dear to my heart, and we'll talk about his changes next. So this is, without a doubt, the most exciting part of this Warriors Den, at least for me, Stefan. What are the general changes we're doing with Zhanhu here?
Is this your main or something?
Yeah, half.
Okay. Yeah, this is a cool character. I mean, one of the things that this character didn't live up to is kind of the limitless aspect. We, I think, put handcuffs on a little too much for some of the things. Ability to get into the chain at all, ability to continue the chain, as well as ability to like continue with the dodge attacks and so on. So what we're trying to do is kind of let the character off the leash at this point and say, here, all the things that you were supposed to be good at, we're going to let you be good at, and try to give you an opener in the first place to get into your chain, basically.
Nice. JC, give me those spicy details about the changes that we're getting to Zhanhu on the testing grounds.
Oh yeah, it's quite spicy. So first up, we have dodge cancels. So as if you're playing Zhanhu before, you know that Zhanhu can dodge cancel some of his attacks. So we wanted to make sure that he can actually cancel all of his attacks. So every single one of his attacks is now dodge cancelable at 333 MS. And when you hit, miss, or non-interrupted block, that applies to his finishers as well. So you can actually go into his finishers and really be limitless, like we want him to be. So Zhanhu, with this, honestly, like he feels super good. So that's really interesting. On top of that, we have changes to his dodge attacks. So we want to make his dodge attacks a little bit safer to use. A lot of the complaints we've been hearing is that, yeah, they're good because they land quite a bit, but they do very little damage. And on top of that, people can just like dodge them, and nobody really cares. So at this point, what we're trying to do is that his side dodge attacks now are no longer interrupted on block, and they always count as heavy parries, regardless of which button you use. Before, if you did like a side dodge light and you got parried, it was a light parry. So now it's going to be a heavy parry, and it won't get interrupted on block either. So that lets him flow into his offense a lot better. You can use them a little bit better as openers and do interesting things with that. On top of that, his front dodge light used to be 400. It's now 500 and is not interrupted on block. Part of the reason for that is because of his dodge cancels. If you ended up being able to dodge cancel into a 400 MS at the timing that the dodge forward light would go, you would have crazy chain advantage, frame advantage, and it was like that felt just really wrong. So we slowed it down a little bit, but because it's no longer interrupted, you can at least use it a little bit better and keep flowing into your offense. We've also given him something else that's a little bit different. He used to have this the subduing blow, I think it's called. It's palm attack, basically. After is when he used to like superior block dodge, right?
Yep.
So while that was interesting, it didn't really bring anything, and we've had a lot of players like ask for specific buffs to that or whatever. But the route that we've chosen is that we want to make sure that Zhanhu has a viable opener from neutral. So what we have is that now he can do that move from dodge forward and hitting guard break, It's 500 MS, so like all the good dodge forward bashes, it works quite well there. It changed to his openers, and it guarantees either a light or a zone attack. So that's interesting because you can go into a group fight, do a dodge forward palm, do zone, and hit a bunch of people around you, or just throw out a light and keep going afterwards. So it still is quite good. Like you can try using it with his dodge cancels, and it's like really, really interesting. So that works quite well. But because we've put it on dodge forward guard break, we've actually removed it from his superior blocks. And what we've done instead is to make those superior blocks a little bit like still good and actually make them quite much better. What happens is when you superior block an attack, when you dodge, if you hit light or heavy, the attack that comes out, it's still the same dodge attack that would come out before, but it becomes unblockable. It's guaranteed, in the case of sides, and it deals a little bit more damage, right? So for side dodges, it's going to deal 22. It's guaranteed, and for like side dodge light and heavy. For front dodge light, it deals 22 as well, and it's guaranteed like 99% of the time. And dodge forward heavy is guaranteed a little bit less often, depending on the recovery of the attack that you're blocking. But it deals 30 damage instead. So he has much better options out of those superior blocks, because those things also initiate his chain offense. It makes him a lot more viable and a lot more potent in these situations. We've also adjusted his zone attack, so it's a little bit faster to give him a bit better peel and give him better utility in chains. So it was 600, it's now 500. So that also makes it like, because of that, it can be guaranteed if you dodge for a palm, that sort of stuff. So it's much better, and that's it. Because it's undodgeable, it's close to being Warlord level good. It's like a whole 360 around him. Really, really good for peeling. If you don't know what peeling is, I think there's a good explanation in some of the videos that we've done from Game Plan recently. So that's pretty good. So yeah, so his own attack is much better in this regard. And then I think one of the most requested changes we've had for Zhanhu overall is that finally his right heavy finisher trajectory is mirrored from the left side. So it no longer has like a slightly different angle. So you can hit people the same way on the left and on the right side. So that helps him also quite a bit in group fights. So that's it for Zhanhu. Steph, what do you think? What's going on with Zhanhu now?
It's going to be fun to play Zhanhu for sure. I mean, it's much more viable in 1v1, I think, with the opener that you described. I mean, you can actually get in. And then in group fights, like the ability to dodge after the finisher is really quite good, both for continuing your offense against opponents. Also for dodging attacks that would have been guaranteed on you because you're stuck in a long recovery otherwise. So you're going to be dancing through those group fights a lot more often, I think, and it's fun to go for it at this point with this character.
Matt, you seem pleased.
This is so rad. This is amazing.
We'll get on and try it during testing grounds.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
All right, let's jump over to the next one. Jiang Jun. I so wish I could grow a beard like that. Anyway, we're not going to talk about my facial hair. Let's talk about JJ. Let's talk about some of the what the goal is here for the changes on testing ground, Stefan. What can you tell us?
Totally. JJ is one of those weird characters where it has a lot of stuff going for it, but like if you're in a 1v1, you can roll away from quite a lot of its heavies every time 100%. Can't do anything. Guard break, even if they do get it somehow. Like what's a punish for a guard break for a JJ? There's a lot of stuff that's like rough edges on this character, I'm going to say. And I think that's what we're trying to shore up here in this one.
So JC, Jiang Jun is all about like military precision. He's a veteran. So what are the specifics with this character and what we're doing with them?
All right. So yeah, so first we'll talk about his heavy openers. So as Steph said, like he has a bit of a problem like when he does land a guard break, because his only viable option was to do a zone attack, right? So and that costs a lot of stamina, makes it a lot more difficult. So what we've done is that his top heavy opener is now 800 milliseconds and deals 24 damage. So you get it guaranteed off a guard break. That's really good. And his side heavy openers are 900 and they deal 27. So they're not guaranteed on light parries. So instead of having like a good light parry punish, on top, you always have it, but you also have guard break punishes now, which is much better. And as we'll see from some other changes, he should be able to land his guard breaks a little bit easier this time. So, as I was saying, he also has his heavy finishers that have a few changes. But the big change that his heavy finisher has is that he can now soft feint the guard break, right? So no longer can you willy-nilly just roll away from a Jiang Jun whenever he throws a heavy finisher. You saw red, you just rolled. Well, if you roll now, you're going to get caught by the guard break. And then he can throw out a top heavy and then go back into it. So that's one of those two changes really help him be much better in 1v1. He has a lot better pressure, and you have to respect him a lot better. Next up, we have Sifu Swirl. So that Sifu Swirl, if it's not super clear, that's a zone attack when he's in his Sifu's poise. So down stance into zone. So that attack is it's not bad, but it's kind of problematic in that it's super telegraphed, and it doesn't really have enough utility as much as it should. So what it has now is it's now unblockable. So you can go down stance zone and go unblockable, hit people around you. And the idea is that like you can't just be close to a Jiang Jun when you use a group fight and just block and not care, because then you can't do anything. And because they're unparryable when you're outside of him, it gives him a lot better pressure. And it's a lot harder to approach him when he's in a group fight. He has a lot of ways to go into that stance, so that gives him a lot better pressure. And the idea, what's interesting also is that you can go like, Sifu stance, like Sifu Swirl into every finisher, into Sifu Swirl, and like keep that going. It's like a torrent of unblockables constantly. It's pretty cool. It works quite well. That's pretty good. The next thing we're going to look at is his stamina cost. So previously, before the Core Combat update, it kind of made sense to have a lot of his heavies cost more stamina, because they had like what we call zone properties, right? So basically zone properties, what that means is that your attacks don't stop when you hit somebody. So if there's somebody further out than your main target, you can still hit them. And because of that, they cost more stamina, and they didn't have extra stamina drain when you would parry them and such. So because all of these things are a bit more standardized after the Core Combat update, it didn't make any sense anymore. So all of his heavy attacks now cost a basic 12 stamina, like most of the other heavy attacks in the game. It lets him manage his stamina way easier. It gives him much better pressure, and it also makes it like a lot. You don't constantly have to go into his stance to regen your stamina all the time, so you can actually use his attacks a lot more. So that works quite well. And then next up we have forward dodge attacks. So Zhanhu also had a little weird thing with that, where he could do dodge forward heavy into a soft feint kick. That didn't really work. We've tried really hard to make it so that there wasn't a single dodge timing on it. It's tough to accomplish, and it didn't really work that well. So what we've done instead is that we've given him the same kind of treatment that we've given to Shugoki and to Zhanhu, where he can now do dodge forward guard break. It gives him the same kick that he had as a soft feint. It's 500 MS again, so it's an actual viable opener now, so he doesn't really need to go into other things, but he can actually do that, and it works quite well. It also changed to openers, like we can see in the video, so you can do dodge forward kick into light, into his heavy finisher. So that also helps him quite a bit in 1v1, gives him a lot more pressure, so that's good. And so because we put the kick straight there, dodge forward heavy is now 600 milliseconds. You can't feint it, you can't soft feint it. It's just basically a good roll catcher now. So if you wanted to do that, if you want to like approach people, if you want to do like that sort of stuff, it actually works. Before since it was so slow, even if you could feint it, they didn't really have any feeling to it. It wasn't really that good. So with those changes, it works much better. And the last thing that we've done, it's a little bit of a nerf, but I think most people are going to be happy with this because it was quite a frustrating thing we've seen quite a bit. Is Dushi's choke. So basically, when you would parry somebody and you hit guard break and he chokes you, it used to drain stamina, and you had guaranteed damage afterwards, right? So you didn't really have a choice to make between, am I going to drain your stamina? Am I going to deal you damage? You always did that, especially on the heavy parry. So now it no longer guarantees damage. So you have to make a choice when you do a heavy parry. Do I hit him with a light? Do I hit him with something else? Or do I do that choke to put them potentially out of stamina and maybe get a better punish out of it at the end? But there's an actual choice to make now, and it's just not brainless. I'm always going to choke because I can choke. So that's basically the changes to Jiang Jun. Steph, you want to hit us off with what you feel is going to be like?
I think this character is still going to be doing quite well in group fights. I think it's going to be much more viable in 1v1s. I think it's going to be wanting to compete with Kensei and then Nobushi for that kind of spot. So I'm really hoping to see variety in the game in terms of like that kind of like laner group fighter role. So I'm really excited to see if that makes it to where we're hoping.
These are some really exciting changes for Jiang Jun, I would say, as someone who's played a little bit. And next up, the one, the only, the much requested Aramusha. All right, so Aramusha has been a really complex and interesting one for us for a long time. So, Stefan, can you get us started with the general overview?
For sure. Aramusha is a character that has been up and down a little bit, often requested to be worked on in this kind of capacity in a testing ground or rework or whatever. Basically, when at least I'm playing an Aramusha, I'm very happy when I'm in the Deadly Feint area. And when I'm in other parts of the kit, I'm like, how do I get through this to the part that I actually want to be using, right? So what we're going to try to do here is increase a little bit of that like kind of 1v1 viability. Can we get started and then get to the parts that we like as a character? And as well, like we expect it to be a good laner, a little bit of a group fighter because it's got blade blockade and stuff like that. Can we tune this up a little bit kind of globally?
Awesome. I'm actually kind of like an Aramusha main, so this is very interesting. This is a fun segment for me. So, JC, can you tell me anything specifically that will make me suck less?
There's quite a few things that will make you suck less, so that's good.
Awesome.
So, first up, we have blade blockade follow-ups, right? So, normally, like when you play Aramusha right now on live, the follow-ups with blade blockade are a little bit complex. You need to know exactly what kind of attack you blocked, what its recovery is to be able to pick the right option at the right time. You could always do ring the bell and hit light, and it's pretty much always going to work. But then there's situations where top heavy would have worked and stuff. So the idea now is that he has three follow-ups to blade blockade. He has light, heavy, and guard break, which is the kick. And so they're all a little bit different, and you have to use them differently depending on your situation. But it's more about situational awareness more than what attack did I block, right? So when you do light, what happens after a blade blockade is that you get a top attack that deals 20 damage. It's really meant for 1v1 situations. It's guaranteed the very, very vast majority of the time. There's some situations where there might be some glitches there. Make sure you put them on in your surveys and stuff, so that's good. But yeah, so when you do it, when you're in a 1v1, you want to do light. When you're in a group fight, however, you want to do heavy, because heavy is a side attack with zone properties. So basically, it doesn't stop when you hit your main opponent. It deals a little bit less damage at 18, but it's meant for 1vx, right? So you're in a group fight, somebody hits you, somebody tries to hit you, you blade blockade, hit heavy, hit everybody around you, get them off of you a little bit, works super well. You can still do guard break and perform the kick. The kick is more meant for ganking, so basically you kick somebody, guarantees an ally heavy, your opponent can do good stuff with that. That's always interesting. You can ledge people with it if you want. You can like push people, you can wall splat. All that sort of good stuff works quite well. But that means that we've removed the ring the bell completely from blade blockade follow-ups. So the idea is that ring the bell, like we're moving it somewhere else in the kit. So like that really iconic move that he has is still there, but just no longer locked behind always doing blade blockade. And important to note is that all of his follow-ups are pretty much always guaranteed, so that even if you hit heavy in a 1v1 situation, it's still gonna land, no matter if you block the light or whatever. So that's first buff to blade blockade. Second buff to blade blockade is that you can now cancel all of your attack recoveries into blade blockade during, like, starting at 100 milliseconds in the recovery until the very, very end. So what this means is, like, right now what you can see in the video is that basically Aramusha hits somebody and then holds down and goes into blade blockade right away. Now that might not seem really good after you hit an opponent in 1v1. In group fights, however, it makes a huge difference. And it's also extremely potent against dodge attacks that are weapon strikes, right? Because you can attack somebody, they dodge. Let's say you're against a Griffon, for example, right? That is super, super dodge happy. Well, hit your heavy, have them dodge, instead of having heavy feint and parry, and maybe miss your parry, maybe get like, you know, not that great of damage, just heavy, let it miss, and then oops, blade blockade, block their attack, and then go into your light and do a bunch more damage than you would have done. So the idea is that like you can use blade blockade as a defensive tool a lot more often now, and it lets you really use it like super well in group fights, super well in 1v1s. It lets you beat out a lot of different options that normally Aramusha would have had a really hard time defeating. Next up, we have front dodge attacks. So front dodge attack was like, with the front dodge heavy is an interesting case on Aramusha, because basically you can choose which stance you're going to do an attack in, and then you can do like the side ones that had like a little bit of like iframes, a bit of weird things happening there, but they never really worked that well. So what we've done is that, first and foremost, dodge forward heavy is always top. Every single time it's always top. There's no longer that thing of like sides or whatever. And we've also adjusted the armor on it, because it was a little bit too frustrating, and it was like a bit like it didn't really feel that good to have armor start that early into the attack. So it starts at 400 milliseconds into the dodge forward heavy. You can still feint it, so the armor starts right after the feint timing, like we usually do. That's kind of a rule that we try to use most of the time. So it's better. It's better because of something else that's also going to be coming up. But on top of that, like, it makes a lot more sense just to have it on that. But don't worry too much. Those side dodge attacks that you had from front are now moved to as his side dodge attacks, right? So he can now do side dodge heavy and go into those rushing wind attacks, I think they were called. So he now actually has defense against bashes, which is one of the things where he suffered quite a bit. Similarly to Hitokiri, there is 600 milliseconds, and they also initiate his chains. So you can finally do stuff against bashes as an Aramusha. You can defend yourself quite easily with those. Works really, really well. Next up, we have something that's a little bit, that's a spicy one, but it works quite well. It's interesting. We have Ring the Bell soft feints, right? So what you can do now with Ring the Bell is that since we removed it from Blade Blockade, we still want to have it somehow, right? So what you can now do is do any of your neutral heavies and then soft feint them into Ring the Bell. So we haven't touched the speed of his neutral heavies. We know that like it's been a common complaint that he should feel faster or whatever. We've decided to go this route instead because it made a lot more sense to keep the same type of like timings that you had beforehand with guard break and parries and stuff, but at the same time give him really, really viable offense from neutral. They are 400 milliseconds, so they're super fast. You have to really, really decide like before if you're going to dodge, what you're going to do against an Aramusha. It gives him a lot of neutral pressure, so that's super good. And the other good news is that you can also soft feint your dodge forward heavy into Ring the Bell, right? So you can typically go into a fight, hit some people, switch target, dodge forward, heavy, soft feint to Ring the Bell, hit somebody else, do all that good stuff. It's super cool. And it also, on top of that, acts a bit as his ganking tool, right? So he has access to this really, really good attack from neutral that can guarantee an ally heavy if it's timed properly. So that's super good, really, really strong, and gives him a lot of options. It gives him much, much, much better neutral pressure than just hitting lights and just going, I hope they land. You know? And then the last big change we've done on Aramusha, and that one was a bit more controversial internally, but I think we'll see how it pans out, is that his chain flow, his infinite chain flow has changed. So if you play Aramusha right now, like you, Josh, for example, right? You know that on live, when you want to go into his infinite chain, you have to go side top, side top, side top, side top all the time. Makes you quite a bit predictable. And then we've explored a lot of different things where maybe we're gonna have those top lights be they don't get interrupted on block or whatever. But at the end of the day, what we feel is a better solution is that we've loosened those chain restrictions. So what Aramusha can do now is he can go from any single stance in his chain and chain into any other stance. So you can do left, right, left, right, left, right. You can do all that sort of stuff. And if you want to access your finishers and your deadly feints, you just have to do an attack in the same stance as you previously were. So you want to do like, let's say like right heavy, you go into your finisher, but you can do right heavy, left heavy, right heavy, left heavy. So that works quite well. It makes you a lot less predictable, and it's super good in group fights because you can target swap and just switch your stance and not always go top. So you can use his trajectories to much better use and be able to like go between opponents and do a lot of good stuff with those. So yeah, that's about it for Aramusha. There's a lot of changes there. We went over them quite quick, but we hope that people are gonna like those. So Steph, what do you think? How do you feel about Aramusha right now?
Really looking forward to seeing it in the wild in the testing grounds. Like Blade Blockade making a bit more sense internally, but then its Ring the Bell being pulled into the soft feint, I think is going to be quite useful. It'll help with the openers, and then we've got the like side dodge heavy instead of front dodge directional is going to be a big deal as well. So I think a lot of times where you kind of get like stifled as an Aramusha, you're going to be able to kind of open that door and show off the parts of the character that you want to do. So looking forward to it a lot.
I'm looking forward to it myself. Like I said, I want to suck less. So I'm very excited for these changes. Honestly, all of these great changes on the testing ground. I'm so excited for everyone to give them a try out when the testing grounds goes live. Steph, JC, I want to thank you guys for joining us today and being able to break all this down for us. I want to let everyone know that there will be a testing grounds mega thread up on the official subreddit, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. Also, once you get a chance to play the testing grounds, be sure to do those surveys because we love that data. We love getting the feedback. we love getting all of that feedback, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks about these changes. Again, want to thank the Fight team for joining us, and we'll be right back with the content of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome back, Warriors, from that doozy of a segment with 7 heroes in the testing grounds. Thanks again to JC and Stefan for walking us through that crazy amount of information. Again, the testing grounds is running from April 1st to April 8th, which is really exciting. So get on Reddit, get on the mega thread, get your surveys into us so we can read through them and make any changes that are needed. A few quick reminders: the game plan website with all of the all of the guide content are at forhonorgame.com/gameplan. So check it out or send it to a friend who doesn't know the game that well if they need an introduction. Dominion series signups are on the 16th, and we'll have some more news about that soon. And it's April Fool's, so enjoy the event. Enjoy the baby-proofed maps. Enjoy not harming anyone with the foam weapons, and enjoy the toy soldiers. It should be a fun day.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to try it out. But again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It was an action-packed show. Like Matt said, lots of testing ground stuff. April Fools. It's going to be fun. If you're not following the Twitch channel that you are currently on right now, you can do so by clicking that little follow button because we really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram at For Honor Game. We post a lot of content, more content coming soon, and we look forward to seeing you in the next Warriors Den. Peace.
Have a good one.
Greetings, Warriors. I'm Richard, also known as the Filthy Spaniard, one of the mods of the competitive For Honor subreddit, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to take your For Honor skills to the next level. If you want to be able to play like a pro yourself, then watching and analysing tournament gameplay is a great way to start. High-level play involves a lot of fast decision-making as well as good technical skills, and these are demonstrated in spades by professional players. Today we'll be going over some clips from the recent Dominion Series tournament and focusing on 3 skills that are essential for top players to have. Being able to read your opponent, knowing how to make the most of your feats, and understanding how to pull off efficient coordinated ganks with your teammates. First up, making reads. Combat in For Honor is about much more than just reacting to your opponent. The most important skill for a top player to have is to be able to predict what their opponents will do ahead of time, known as making a read. From predicting where your opponents will go on the map, to which options they will use in a mix-up, making reads is vital in every aspect of gameplay. Take almost any clip of tournament level play and you will see evidence of players making reads and playing mind games, and this next example is no exception. Here we see how Stello of Team Overeasy makes a great read on his Warmonger opponent to time out her Corruption Blade feat. After a successful dodge attack and a well-defended top-heavy unblockable mix-up, Stello knows that the Warmonger is under pressure to land her Corruption. She unlocks, looking for an opponent who might be in range of her forward dodge heavy, but Stello uses his zone attack to keep her in combat with him, as even if he does get corrupted, he's far away from the teamfight and it will have less of an impact. He then immediately starts backwalking to put himself out of range of her uncharged claw. She feints, so Stello goes for a guard break, as he knows the Warmonger is now desperate to land a hit before time runs out. His read is rewarded as he catches the Warmonger in the startup of her bash, landing a heavy attack and successfully wasting the use of her potent corruption feat. As we've seen, making a good read is a far cry from just guessing. The key to getting inside the head of your opponent is to understand what they want to achieve and what factors are shaping their decisions. Imagine yourself in their position and what you would do to achieve their goals, and then use that plan against them. In the previous clip, we saw how feats can influence a player's decision making, and this is because feats are an absolutely critical part of Dominion gameplay. A team's feats are a limited and vital resource, and making the most of them relies on good timing in order to tip the scales in your favor. In this example, Nature of Team Pickup Truck makes fantastic use of his feats in a critical teamfight on the enemy's home point. Seeing that his side is about to be outnumbered, he first uses Juggernaut to provide himself with some extra defense and survive whilst he's out of stamina. After seeing that one opponent is low on health and looking at his own renown, he realizes that if the opponent dies, he will get a defended point bonus, which will unlock his tier 4 feat, Fire Flask. To that end, he pops his tier 3 feat, Fury, which buffs his defense and damage, including Fire Flask's damage. The use of Fury and Fire Flask together is common, so players will often take a Warlord popping Fury as a sign to scatter. But because Nature uses Fury before he even unlocks the tier 4, his opponents are not forewarned of his plan. Which means when his prediction pays off, they are in perfect position to be hit by the powered up Fire Flask. And just to make sure, he uses his undodgeable zone attack to stop the Black Prior from rolling out of the danger zone. This is an awesome display of game knowledge and decision making, accented with a spectacular explosion of flame. Additionally, this clip highlights the importance of timing your feat usage within a match as a whole. This fight was really the moment where the whole match was won, as it allowed Pickup Truck to go from being tied to having a big point lead, which the enemy never recovered from. So make sure not to waste your feats on unimportant fights. But it's not just balanced teamfights that are important moments in Dominion. Often, one team will have a numbers advantage, and making the most of these gank opportunities is critical for overall success. You want to be able to kill a lone opponent as quickly and efficiently as possible to prevent their team arriving to help them, and even out your advantage situation. Ganging up on an enemy and randomly throwing attacks will just feed them revenge and give time for more opponents to show up, so you need to know the specifics of what your character can do in combination with your allies. Most teams pick at least one character who specializes in setting up ganks, and often that is Centurion. His pinning heavies, fast kick and knockdown punches can all guarantee ally attacks, and he can chain together these short gank elements into devastating combos. Here we see a Centurion and Warmonger gank performed flawlessly by Solops and Amber of the team Missing Bones. From a landed Legion kick, the Centurion light attack guarantees the Warmonger's top heavy. Then the Warmonger chains into her enhanced light attack, which prevents the opponent from dodging Centurion's charged punch. Timed perfectly, the knockdown from the punch guarantees the Warmonger's top heavy finisher without interrupting the knockdown, allowing Sense to land his Eagle's Talons. But it takes practice to successfully use these timings. In this match against Your Days Are Numbered, the same pair of Solops and Amber fail this gank, giving revenge and leaving Solops to get ganked himself. The opponent's own kick stops Amber from throwing his heavy opener, and while he times his light attack correctly to guarantee the charge jab, he accidentally uses a side heavy finisher, which hits earlier than the top heavy and interrupts the knockdown, meaning that Sops' buffered Eagle's Talons input becomes a regular heavy. This is blocked, giving the opponent revenge and allowing them to isolate Amber, exposing Sops to the enemy Warlord and Kensei. This example really demonstrates how much practice and coordination can go into pulling off these brutal ganks, as even the top players can have one small slip-up that makes them completely ineffective. Working these skills and others into your gameplay is a matter of practice and patience. Every top player has a journey that got them to where they are today, and we hope that these insights will help you in yours. Thanks for watching, Warriors. For more tips and tricks, check out Game Plan and visit the Competitive For Honor subreddit and Discord. Links are in the description below. Good luck, and I'll see you on the battlefield.